On this day, May 1st, 1922, the Soviet Union was officially formed, marking the birth of a new world power. The story of the Soviet Union's creation begins long before May 1st, 1922. In 1917, the Russian Revolution tore apart the Russian Empire, and the Bolshevik Party, led by Vladimir Lenin, seized power. This revolution was not just a political upheaval, it was a social and economic transformation aimed at creating a new society based on communist principles. Following the revolution, Russia was plunged into a devastating civil war. The Red Army, under Bolshevik leadership, fought against the White Army, which consisted of monarchists, capitalists, and other factions. The war was brutal, with millions of lives lost, but ultimately, the Bolsheviks emerged victorious. By the time the Soviet Union was officially founded on May 1st, 1922, Lenin and his comrades had consolidated power over most of the former Russian Empire. The Bolshevik government had already taken steps to transform the economy through nationalization of industry and land redistribution. But this new political entity was not just about economics. It was about creating a new form of government, one that would challenge the capitalist systems of the West. The official formation of the Soviet Union united multiple republics under the centralized rule of Moscow. The Union was made up of Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and the Transcaucasian Federation, which included Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. These republics were officially recognized as sovereign states, but were heavily controlled by the central government in Moscow. The new nation was built on the idea of proletarian internationalism, a belief that workers and peasants across the world should unite and overthrow capitalist regimes. Lenin's vision for the Soviet Union was ambitious. He wanted to create a society where the working class had control of the means of production and where equality and justice would reign. However, the reality of running such a vast and diverse empire was far more complex. The Soviet Union faced political, economic, and social challenges that were far from resolved by its formation. The Soviet government's early years were marked by repression and conflict. Lenin's government took drastic measures to suppress opposition, including the use of the Cheka, the Bolshevik secret police. The economic transformation also faced difficulties as the war-torn country struggled to rebuild. Yet, despite these struggles, the formation of the Soviet Union marked the beginning of a global superpower that would play a critical role in shaping the world's history for much of the 20th century. The Soviet Union's creation was not just important for Russia, but for the world. It signified the rise of socialism as a competing ideology to capitalism. Over the next few decades, the Soviet Union would grow into one of the two main superpowers, facing off against the United States in the Cold War. The ideological divide between the Soviet Union and the Western world would define much of global politics throughout the 20th century. So, on May 1st, 1922, the Soviet Union was born, a new world power that would shape global politics for decades to come. From its radical beginnings to its eventual collapse in 1991, the Soviet Union remains one of the most significant political experiments in modern history. It all began on this day. Subscribe